Amen. Brethren, praise the Lord. It's thought today in regards to something that's been coming up in my mind. I started recording about it yesterday, but I'm going to record about it again because I really want to overly emphasize this once again about how wicked and adulterous we kind of really are, which is pretty pathetic because this is something that God just hates. God hates it so much, excuse me. But it's in regards to trying to be able to see how to bring the cure of adultery. The cure to adultery is at least to be able to see it so you can realize, shoot, you're right, that is adultery. And then things that you didn't even think of as so wrong. Yeah, that's why I like John Wesley days. The men gathered together and the women gathered together. The women didn't have a lot to do with the brothers unless it was like some little thing like, tell the sister to go grab salt or something like that for the food thing, for the potluck or whatever. It was something simple. It was, very in the open and very orderly and very godly. And that's because there was revival and they didn't think the way we think today. And so, I was discussing with the wife last night that thought because I already started recording it and then I wanted to go further with it. So here it is. It's like a one-time traveling that we all do in life in God's perfect plan. I know that there's gray areas for mistakes and things going wrong and people messing things up and all that. I understand. I do get that. But here's the original model. And it's so much easier when you get the picture from the get-go, so you already know in advance, and you're among people who know this in advance, would be so good. I think it used to be like this. That you travel, everybody's born on planet single, and everybody gets a one-time pass to travel over to marriage. You get a one-time pass to travel over to marriage, planet marriage. You can't travel over there whenever you feel like it. And marriage is not just a certificate. It's not just a license. It's not just a ceremony. It's everything that happens between a man and a woman that's supposed to happen exclusively. That's why it's so painful when people are not faithful in these matters, because it is so painful. When you're the one who's invested, it becomes exceedingly painful because you've partway married that person. And like we've talked about before, the emotional affairs. People can have an emotional affair without even touching somebody because they allow themselves to get too close to them, proximity wise or whatever wise, and some type of connections are being made. Those are the connections that belong between man and wife exclusively. And so it's really, really sad to see people who, they want pieces, or they want some of the things from the marriage. They want to be able to unite with the opposite sex whenever they want to. They want to be able to take that. They want to take that one-time traveling pass and travel over. Let's just assume God only gives every single person a traveling pass only one time. That means you're going to be very, very wise about when you go. You're not going to give your everything until you know for sure that everything's dialed in. So not only do we have one pass, we also have to know that there's several things that God expects for us to have in our life before we even think about the pass. And that's that a man ought to be among his family in church, in work situation, in communities. They're very, very clear and sane and sober and obvious. He ought to be preparing his life for marriage and for home and for future and finance and all these things that are going to be obviously needed so the woman can be the keeper of the home. Ideally, women shouldn't be the one working. They should be the one working at home. They should be there taking care of the children. They should be taking care of the animals. They should be taking care of the area outside and inside. That's a big job. It should be the woman's job, except for the super hardcore jobs. Of course, that's the man's job. But ultimately, the man should be the breadwinner, and she should be the one taking care of everything at home. We're not there on the ideal, so I know if there's a man and woman working, I'm not against it. I'm just saying, ideally, this is where it should be if we really want to be healthy and back to the original model. But you only get to travel one time. You travel from planet single to planet marriage. And you can't sample, you can't do any halfy-halves. You meet someone and you start to sense this is definitely going to be a good deal. She looks the way I need her to look. She likes to, we're in the same community. We're in the same understanding that this is a one-time deal. I'm not going to be married more than once in my life. This is a one-time deal. We're going to be able to be together for better, for worse, and be among a lot of people and community and Christian family that's going to be able to support us. And really, when those kind of secluded groups like to excommunicate people because they don't care about these very strict rules, because it's just so much damage. It's like, why would you want to have an attack on this beautiful community that's so orderly? Because somebody wants to break the rules. They want to come out of the rules. That's why God says, wicked and adulterous generation. He says, wicked and adulterous generation. Because people, whether they're actually committing full adultery or not, there's a lot of partial adultery just from dating. Dating itself is like, to me, partial adultery. People should not be pairing off and connecting with people except for one time. You fully release to give everything to one person is the ideal. If we could actually remember that, that's God's obvious standard. Because if you're not, you're literally going to be with someone. Well, how many people did you date before me? How many people did you kiss before me? How many people did you snuggle up late into the night with before me? All these different things are going to be going through people's heads. And these are not very fun to think about. It's like committing adultery before you even met your wife. And it's pathetic. It's like, how many people I've talked to in my past, it's like, it's pretty scary. But we're so dismantled. And then we also get hurt because we've already been through this in the false way, because we haven't handled it properly, and it's extremely detrimental, and then we start to operate from a beat up position even further. But if we can just understand that when you're single, you're single. The rules are over here. You have a completely different law over here, and over here you have in planet marriage. The laws all change. Even before your certificate, even before, it's before courtship, before all this stuff. It's like something that was made to be a one-time thing. God gives you a one-time pass. And some people cheat. They try to fly over there all kinds of different ways. They don't use God's pass. They don't wait for them to have all the stuff rightly. They just jump over because they think it'd be fun to talk to the other person. Thought it'd be fun to take it as far as I can just for my pleasure. Just for my own personal satisfaction. And that's what we've got. Well, this sounds like normal life to us, but God calls it adultery. God calls it wicked and adulterous generation. When people want to sample flying over to the planet marriage just for something that they want without the lifetime commitment. It's very difficult. The world is set up for bad right now. Yes. But the church needs to remember God's rules so we can still remain in His best blessable position.